the city is too much. There are too many people, too many cars, too many houses, too many streets, too many smells, too many noises, too many people. Face after face, absorbed, worried, anxious, harassed, face after face. Nice people, but too many. When it gets to that pitch, when you have become a citizen of the state of mind which says there are too many people, then it's time to take a rest from the city, leave the people, escape from the state of mind. And it's too easy. A bus or a train from one of the city's termini, an hour's journey, and there you are in London's countryside, with a green space of time to untangle the ends of your nerves, rediscover your humanity, refresh your taste for life. No one should be allowed, let alone compelled, to stay away from the countryside for longer than 4 weeks at a stretch. This is our natural home, where our first parents were born and crawled into the light, where the shaggy ancient Briton hunted. This is the place to get rid of that wild energy, those delinquent forces that the city pens up in our blood. When you come into the countryside, you may imagine that you're the only piece of life in it. But have you ever counted the points of grass in a green field? Can you recognize each rustle in the leaves? The berry is brown, the berry is white, the berry is as red as Mary's lip. Do you know which berry you can bite? The inhabitants do. And they would tell you, if they could, that their country is a place of infinite riches, breeding wild and delicate life out of nuts, leaves, grass, pollen, dew, and invisible air. So when you come into the country, walk like the cat, and you will see and hear nearly half as much as he does. The countryside has bred many things. It has bred men who worked and fought and built and distributed their monuments over the face of the land. Some of these monuments, villages like Finchingfield in Essex, are hardly more than an atmosphere, a fading echo of a way of life. Some are like old ships, cast up hundreds of years before and anchored in the landscape. You may find them in the most unlikely places. In Farnham, in Surrey, for instance, there's a keep. But you can look at it until the harebells grow out of your eyebrows and it remains just a pile of stones stuck together with mortar. Until you take the trouble to find out who built it, who fought for it, and how neglect more than any cannon shook these walls into disrepair. And then it begins to come to life. You can look at Canterbury Cathedral, too, with a sort of glazed eye and say, that's a fine building, because you think you ought to. But do you appreciate how fine? Can we do better? And yet Canterbury may not be the finest cathedral in England. So why do we flock here like the swallows in autumn? Is it because of the stained windows, the flying buttresses, the sculptured figures? Or isn't it because of that proud archbishop who had a furious quarrel with his king? And when the king's men killed him, they cemented his blood and his spirit into these stones, into the life of England, into its towering heritage of courage and freedom. west of London stands another part of that story. A house that can still attract the eyes of the world. When that great adventurer, Norman Williams, seized the English crown, he fastened his chain of defences with a stake driven into the winding shore of the Thames. It would have widened his eyes to see that stake transformed into this magnificent clasp. In the home counties, you can hardly move 2 paces witut tripping over something of interest. It may be a shell of Tudor life, like Hyde Hall in Essex, or it may be the bones of some dead literary lion. Chalfont St Giles in Buckinghamshire faintly echoes the voice of Milton. And at Rochester in Kent, you have only to mention Dickens for the whole district to let off a barrage of memories and associations. Satie's house, where Pip met Estella in Great Expectations. Jasper's Gatehouse in Edwin Drood. And close by, at Cobham, the Leather Bottle, where Pickwick saved Mr. Tupman from, almost, committing suicide. Rochester lies where Medway meets Thames, where Alfred the Great launched Britain's first navy, and the people of Kent have built many wooden ships since then. But across the river in Essex, not to be outdone by any Kent cob, they set their planks together to keep the wet out of the bedrooms and a warm welcome in the kitchen. Then, at Greenstead, they took their strong grain timber and made themselves a church. They clapped it together stout as a battle, and people have been approving it ever since. From Goring to Gravesend, from Harford to Horsham, the English builder shows his craft in every style and period. Go to Hatfield and you'll find, like an 18th century tune, a row of Queen Anne houses. When they made a building, it didn't look as if it had a wall eye or a pot belly. They gave it a sense of proportion. And anyone can see that it was good. When they built Sher Church in Surrey, they gave it a lich gate. Originally, lich meant corpse, but these gates were made with so much love that now they only remind you that you kissed the lady under the lich and she took it on the catch. They built with a sense of humor as well as with bricks and mortar. They took time to put odd quirks in corners of the village street, like the little man at Abinger Hammer. And the hammer in the name refers to something quite different, which you can find out if you go there. But travel through the home counties and you go in and out of history like a darning needle through the strands of an old sock. Go north to St. Albans and you drop through 1800 years straight into Verulamium, the first city, the only municipium in Britain when we were occupied by the Romans. Here the Roman nobles brought the trappings of their alien civilization, their masked actors, their orators, their purple robes, their golden sandals, and their ladies with their exotic ornaments, their pomades, their pigments, their lotions. Yes, in those days too they painted. They laid it on an inch thick and have done so ever since. 1400 years after Verulamium, Alice, Countess of Derby, was brought to Harefield Church. She painted. And when Grinling Gibbons carved her effigy, he put paint on that too. For the spirit of life looks upon death and goes forth to sing on the green hills. You can gallop over the Chiltern Hills in Hertfordshire. Have your children ever saddled their dreams in the woods near Hatfield? There's a whole forest of adventures to be tracked down and hunted to death at Epping. Have you ever kissed an arrow into the gold at Sevenoaks? There are still dams to be built in the stream at Sarrett. Can you still find Eel Pie Island or Milady Ferry? The hills, the woods, the rivers are waiting. Ignore them and any child will swear you're a stay-at-home, stick-at-home, drown in the drain, tarmac and stone will crush your brain. 3 years ago, or was it longer, you lost sight of 5 sets of mussels. Go down to London's river and bring them out into the open again. They'll wear all the better for a bit of light. In this green world, everything you do provides delight. After exertion, you sit on the river's bank or stretch out at the field's edge, and immediately a medley of crushed plants and herbs raise their intoxicating odors. Hungry, not to say thirsty. You could eat the North Downs and drink the Thames dry. You'll find you're in the most natural place in the world for the satisfaction of appetites. Those corrugations in your digestion will be smoothed out by the taste of fresh air with every mouthful. Those acids that ferment in your brain will dissolve in the dressing of sights and sounds round every course. What will he dream? A man who has eaten his fill. The man who has slaked his thirst. What will he recall? He seems to move again among the green hours. His love is before him, and his life steers towards the sunlight. My love is green, and she has leaves whose calendar spring always weaves. I have a green love, let me lie and through her leaf lines read the sky. My love is green and blossom bound, her port of bloom comes each day round. I have a green love, let me hear her summer song in winters clear. My love is green, and harbours song whose brilliant notes are sunbeam long. I have a green love, I grow old. My love is green, and all is told. The countryside is never idle. However peaceful it looks, it is always producing, breeding new life, refreshing itself only for another burst of activity. You may find them taking the jumps at Knole Park. Maybe they're showing their paces in Buckinghamshire. Perhaps you'll find a hurdy-gurdy world has set itself down at Barnet. You may find your feet unexpectedly twitching in the streets of Westerham. At Cookham, while the shadows reach from the roots of grass towards the hills, you will find them playing out the last slanting rays. The buses are moving along the roads of Kent. The trains are shaking the soil of Buckinghamshire, trailing small clouds through the fields of Essex. The points of grass on the Berkshire Downs, the leaves in the vales of Hertfordshire gather the evening dew. The chalk scar on Box Hill flares through the Surrey dusk. And as the country opens its arms to the cries of its children, there is still time to sense the mystery of this green and pulsing world, a time for wonder and no more words.